facing the police every single day.
Hello and welcome to a Levi Trumbull special presentation. Today we are going to be laying out the events of July 22nd, 2021. It's a date that might not mean much to you, but for Punta Gorda, Florida resident Andrew Sheets, it's a day he'll probably never forget, because it's the day his abortion protest ultimately turned into a criminal conviction. And while it's fair to say that Andrew Sheets could very well be one of Florida's most controversial activists demonstrating signage that is sometimes profoundly shocking, the question we aim to answer in today's special is whether or not Andrew Sheets was persecuted over his political speech. So what we're going to do is walk you through the timeline of events surrounding this incident and let you make that decision for yourself. So I think a good place to start would be to actually watch the body camera footage that was shot by Andy Sheets on the day in question. You will notice that I have muted most of the audio from the recording, and that is because the woman was blaring a bullhorn in the direction of Andy, and it makes a very loud and obnoxious noise, so I just muted that altogether.
Thank you for not aborting. Okay.
You might be right, but that might not be the best sign for a child.
Right. Thank you for not aborting.
This is where you first see the woman with the bullhorn walk in.
Go stand somewhere else, dude. Go stand somewhere else. Go stand somewhere else, dude. Go stand somewhere else.
This is free speech, man.
So this is where I mute it because of the obnoxious bullhorn, but as you just heard, she tells Andy to go stand somewhere else. Andy replies by saying this is free speech. She stands there on the sidewalk with Andy. She's waving to pedestrians driving by in vehicles. The bullhorn is extremely obnoxious. And then we have this guy right here who also confronts Andy wearing a blue shirt. They're talking about there's kids, get out of here, you're not welcome. They're going back and forth. The bullhorn is extremely loud and annoying.
Are you? It's called a sidewalk. I can have free speech.
At this point, the bullhorn is still going off. Things are still very heated. There's swearing going back and forth at each other. The guy in the blue shirt calls Andy a racist. Andy tries to defend himself, and that's when the officer pulls up.
He damaged my hearing doing that. Shut up. He damaged my hearing. Now I can't, really, I can't say he just damaged my hearing.
I've been watching you. You're out here causing this problem.
This is legally protesting.
You gotta be ashamed of yourself.
You should be ashamed of yourself for being un-American.
Where's your car at, Andrew?
Dude, I am legal.
Where's your car at?
Don't touch my
Where's your
sign.
car at?
Dude,
Go to your car. Go to your car.
I am legally protesting.
You don't want that in front of little people.
I am legally
Let's
protesting.
go.
Dude, you're violating my civil rights?
Here, take it up with the court.
Did you hear him say
I don't
this?
care. Go ahead.
Did you hear? Dude,
No.
get the out of my space, man.
Where's your car?
Get the out of my
Get
space.
away from the kids.
So by this point, you've already seen Detective Delgado with the Punta Gorda Police Department arrive on the scene and immediately tell Andy Sheets to shut up and that he should be ashamed of himself. You then notice Detective Delgado approach Andy and start to push him back. He also, as you will see, puts his hand on him at several points in time. This is interesting to me because Detective Delgado never stated which crime that Andy was committing or why he felt it necessary to remove him from the scene, which would be obstructing Andy's movement.
Let's go. Let's go.
Dude.
Go to your car. Wherever your car is.
Hey,
Go to your
Anthony,
car.
can you get the supervisor?
Go to your car.
Get
Come
the
on.
supervisor.
Go to
He's
your car.
touching my shit.
Go to your car. Go to your
He's
car.
touching my
I'm not gonna harass these kids. Go
This
to
is
your
not
car.
harassing. This
You're
is
harassing
this
these
is.
kids. You're stopping
This
traffic.
I am
You're
not
causing
stopping
traffic. Get out of here.
traffic.
Go.
I am legally
Go out there.
protesting.
You're protesting away from the school.
I can quit
Let's-
touching my.
Let's go.
I got a shoe. I got a
Get your
shoe.
shoes. Get your shoes. Come on. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
And you're telling me to leave? Why?
I'm telling you because you're calling a disturbance.
I am
right
not.
here. You're stopping traffic.
I did
I'm
not.
not here for no reason.
I did not. I did not.
Watch the pole. Let's go. Come on.
Quit touching me.
Get away from here.
You.
I don't care whatever. You think that's going to hurt me? Watch the poles.
Wow.
Wow, nothing. Don't go back to that school.
The video ends with Detective Delgado giving Andy Sheets the order to not go back to the school. From the video footage, it doesn't seem as if Andy Sheets was ever at the school, but more so standing on the sidewalk. The order appears to be unlawful, but nonetheless, Andy Sheets appears to comply. We now turn to the affidavit of probable cause, which was filed against Andy Sheets on August 6, 2021 in connection to these incidents. As you can see, he was charged with breach of peace and disruption of school function. Before we read more into the affidavit of probable cause, let's first define what these two charges mean under Florida law. In the state of Florida, somebody has breached the peace or committed disorderly conduct when somebody commits an act that is of nature to corrupt the public morals or outrage the sense of public decency, or affect the peace and quiet of persons who may witness them, or engages in brawling or fighting, or engages in such conduct as to constitute a breach of the peace or disorderly conduct. As for the charge that deals with the interference of an educational institution, that is defined as somebody knowingly attempting to disrupt or interfere with the lawful administration or functions of any educational institution, school board, or activity on school board property in the state. Turning to the affidavit of probable cause for Thursday, July 22nd, 2021. This is written from the perspective of the school resource officer. It's written that Andrew Sheets returned in front of the school holding a sign referencing abortion and wearing a shirt which read "F the police." I was immediately summoned to the front of the school by the school principal, Jenny Hoke. Upon my arrival, I observed a loud siren going off and a parent, Megan Marie Wilson, holding a bullhorn, and Andrew Sheets engaging with parents in a hostile manner. The bullhorn was putting off a loud siren sound. There were vehicles and parents blocking the streets of Naranja and East Williams, backing up traffic in the parking lot, not allowing parents to exit the school. M. Wilson stated to me that the reason for her actions with the bullhorn were a reaction incited by Sheets' vulgar and disturbing actions. I requested assistance from other units due to the disturbance that was being created by Andrew Sheets. Detective J. Delgado arrived on the scene moments later and made contact with Sheets. Detective Delgado subsequently escorted Sheets to an alternative location to de-escalate the disturbance that was occurring and return the school traffic line to normal flow. From here, it would be just one day later, on August 7th, 2021, that Andy Sheets would be pulled over and arrested for the application of charges that were filed just one day prior.
Do you have an open probable cause affidavit for your arrest? You have a driver's license on you?
What?
You have a driver's license on you?
Dude, yeah, can you call Dave? They want to arrest me.
Do you want two cuffs?
Yeah.
I think you can squeeze in there. Left foot. All right. You want the windows down?
Yes.
At trial, the prosecution presented the theory that because the parents began to engage the defendant, that this is what broke the peace. The prosecution further went on to say that the parents began to yell back at Andy Sheets. They began to curse at him, engaging in verbal sparring matches. They further stated that the problem is that when parents begin to stop at the stop sign for extended periods of time, instead of turning onto the street and exiting, it creates a backlog of traffic. Interesting enough, the prosecution stated that Andy Sheets' profane, vulgar, disgusting words led to the interference and disruption of the normal school functions and, quote, incited Megan Wilson to breach the peace, seemingly admitting that Megan Wilson's behavior with the bullhorn was unlawful. But unlike Andy Sheets, Megan Wilson was never charged with a crime. The opening argument for the defense is as follows. Now think about what the prosecutor just told you, that somehow my client's responsible for Megan Wilson blaring a bullhorn to drown him out. That was her choice. I'm not saying that what he was doing was the smartest thing to do, but one of the things you're going to see, if you really wanted to screw with the kids, the entrance to the school is over on the other side of it. It's not where the exit is. He was getting into it with the parents, and if they had ignored him, he'd gone away. This is exactly what the First Amendment is about. It's not crying fire in a crowded theater. There was no emergency. He didn't create the emergency. The parents, they wanted to stop and argue with him. If they just left, he'd been standing there himself. When you look at the picture, you'll see where the entrance is. Wasn't near the entrance. And you'll see where this is. And Miss Wilson with her bullhorn, you didn't see her arrested for disturbing the peace. This is what the state wants to do, is allow the crowd to suppress his free speech rights. That's what this is. And in order to, I guess, stop the cars blocking themselves up, the police arrested him. And then they got to justify it. So they claim, well, he was disturbing the peace. That's what the First Amendment is all about. He's not causing an emergency. There was no emergency. They could have put a police officer there and said, keep moving, and there would have been no parents backed up or arguing with him or anything else. He got the reaction he was looking for from the parents. Don't let them tell you about the kids. The kids had no clue. They were over on the other side of the school. They were in the school. They're not dropping them off over on the exit lane. This delay of getting the kids in was due to the parents, not him. When you see the full story, when you hear the testimony, you'll see what I'm talking about. And I fully expect to ask you to acquit him of both charges. However, the defense's strategy would not pay off, as the jury found Andrew Sheets guilty on both counts. During sentencing, the judge made the following remarks. All right, at this time, Mr. Sheets, that having received the jury's verdict, they had made a determination that they believed that the way you were treating the parents at this particular school was of a nature to corrupt public morals or outrage the sense of public decency or affect what is indicated as the peace and quiet, which is to say, the physical safety of those parents. There does not appear to be any evidence to suggest that you did engage in brawling. However, one would have to question whether or not the young lady's response with the bullhorn was in fact an act of battery against you. Given what was indicated on the video, where there was an indication that it was hurting your ears, which is a physical response by her against you in defense of herself and the way she was being treated by the words that you were using on the day in question, that is the classic breach of the peace where someone is so affected by words that they attack another person. And that is what she did. She attacked you, although she did it with a very loud sound device. This is nonetheless a battery and could be charged as such, but for the fact that she would have the defense that she was defending her honor. She was engaging in that conduct because she was excited by fighting and therefore, likely, she wouldn't be convicted. But that is part of the analysis of the court. I don't think that the jury necessarily engaged in that deep analysis, but they certainly found that under the definitions provided to them, you had done something that was inappropriate by definition of our legislature. Given that you lack a prior record, I am going to grant your attorney's request on count 1, hold adjudication. You will be placed on a term of 6 months of probation, and as a result of your conduct, you will be required to do something that would benefit your community. As a matter of fact, you're going to be required to a total of 100 hours, 50 hours on count 1, 50 hours on count 2 of community service. Things that will benefit your community by helping some nonprofit, church, or charitable organization, by being a benefit to them for that amount of time over the course of this 12-month period. 6 months on count 1, plus court costs that apply in this case. Following his conviction, the state would go on to allege that Andy Sheets violated 4 conditions of his probation, 3 for firearms violations and 1 for posting content on YouTube, which they say incited people to go to the school and protest. It's also worth mentioning that Andy Sheets filed his notice of appeal to the higher courts. And shortly thereafter, Andrew Sheets filed a lawsuit against Judge Peter Bell, who was the judge who presided over his case, for civil rights violations. This led Judge Peter Bell to recuse himself from having any further dealings on Andy Sheets' criminal case. In the lawsuit that Andy Sheets filed against Judge Peter Bell, he makes the following claims. The defendant subjected the plaintiff to the crushing weight and burden of the criminal justice system every day for 17 months, the length of time between when the plaintiff was arrested and is still being prosecuted. We are in the appeal process as we speak. And the defendant knowingly found plaintiff guilty of free speech on a public sidewalk. Defendant then told the plaintiff, "You can't have free speech there, but you can anywhere else." Defendant then told the plaintiff, "I want you to think about those bad words when you are doing your community service." And further, the defendant then made a plea offer that if the plaintiff stayed off of the internet and did not post any more stories of police, court, and government corruption, he would not jail the plaintiff for VOP violation. The plaintiff is an independent reporter for 10 years. Plaintiff declined the offer. As it stands, Andy Sheets' next hearing is May 9th, 2023 for a violation of probation hearing in front of Judge John L. Burns. In preparation for this report, we reached out to Andy Sheets, and he provided us with the following commentary.
I was protesting on a sidewalk in front of a school, and which is legal.
Yeah.
And because I did that, they turned that one into a crime. We pulled records on that, and the city manager talked to the police talked to the state attorney. They said, how do we stop him? And they literally said, if we get enough people to complain, we'll turn it into a crime, Levi. And they did. Oh. They charged me with disturbing the peace, messing with administrative duties. Levi, I can't believe it. We lost that case.
Because it had to do with, you think there was school-age children involved in that factor?
That is what they're claiming. Here's what's interesting, Levi. I was at the exit of the school in the morning when they already dropped off the kids. So I was there for parents. I was protesting the ban, on free speech. And I was there for the parents, and I was protesting our schools down here, because if you saw our schools down here, Levi, they're like jails and prisons. They got fences all the way around. They got barbed wire, cops, dogs. It's really sad.
Yeah. What was, so in particular that day, what was your message you said was for the parents? I understand that, but what was it in relation to the schools?
Did an abortion protest at the school, and I had dead babies all over the sign, and I had abortion. I was adopted. I was almost aborted. I found my mother later in life. Yeah. And I was almost aborted, literally. So I believe in life because I was almost killed. And I did an abortion protest at the school. Okay. And again, they lost their friggin' minds. I had one of the best lawyers in Southwest Florida, and even he couldn't believe the railroad that I was on. So the prosecutor told the jury that there's counter protesters there for that last one on the abortion. So they told the jury that the counter protesters had a bullhorn, and they said that the counter protesters were committing disturbing the peace, but since I incited them to do it, I was guilty. At this point, the District Court of Appeals for the state of Florida's 2nd District is going to be the only courthouse that has the jurisdiction to preside over Andrew Sheets' criminal case. Andrew Sheets is hopeful that his convictions will be overturned. That is all the time we have for today's special. Thank you for tuning in, and we will catch you the next time.